Hello everybody and welcome to Your Grass and I'm a Power Mower episode 2. I am Jocelyn and today we're going to be talking about the first track on the Beach Boys record Today. It's called Do You Want to Dance? And not that there weren't interesting things happening on guitars before this in the Beach Boys history, but today is really where they kind of blossomed and Brian started collaborating with the really great session guitarists that he had the chance to work with. They really took off from there. And this is kind of a sub-series focused on the development of how Brian Wilson used guitars in his production from around the time of Today. We'll go all the way through till when they stop being notable, I guess. So this is Do You Want to Dance? And I've re-recorded everything as close to the original as I can get, and I'm going to kind of break down the guitar and bass production. So, all told, as you can see, there's 9 guitars on this track, 2 of which are basses, so that's 7 guitars, which is a lot of guitars. Many of them are overdubbed, but even on the basic track there's 4. And this is definitely a true sort of wall of sound production. And any good wall of sound production starts with this bed of rhythm guitars, which sounds like this. There's 3 of them. One's an acoustic arch top. The other 2 are electric guitars. Here's the acoustic by itself. Just strumming along. Then here's the electrics by themselves. Just driving right along. And here's the 3 together again. So it's just that driving wall of sound kind of chordal thing. So that's great, it sounds great, but let's turn to some of the more interesting features now. This is, to my knowledge, the Beach Boys' first use of 12-string guitar on record, and I believe that was played by Carl in one live and one overdub, playing more or less the same thing both times, except he added some fills in the overdub. And here is how that sounds. I'll start before and then I'll solo them out. Here they come. And then you'll hear just the fill here. So that fill was on the overdub and not on the basic track. And then the what is it? The 7th guitar is this sort of F chord figure arpeggio deal, which I assume Carl did as an additional overdub, and it sounds like this. Oh, and I've forgotten there's one more overdub on the first main overdub. That's another rhythm guitar. So putting that all together without the basses sounds like this. And here's the chorus. Alright, so that's the guitars all together. Now the basses are another interesting story. This production, following with the, what do you call it, the Wall of Sound production feel, has the bass more felt than heard. It's very sort of low mixed, diffuse sound. And let's see, it sounds like this by itself. And then if you just put that in with the rest of the mix, you can hear it, but it's not prominent. This was sort of before Brian learned the trick of having a string bass and a Fender bass on the same track. I mean, obviously he'd encountered it, but he wasn't really using it on his productions yet. So what he had to do is overdub Fender basses, which he'd been doing for a long time. You hear that all over Today and all over Summer Days also. One Fender bass and then just another Fender bass overdubbed, adding the exact same part. And it's the same here, only he does it in the choruses only. And instead of just doing an exact replica, he has Larry Knechtel, the bassist on the track, really change the tone of the bass to make it much more bright and attack-oriented and much closer to maybe some of Brian's later bass sounds. So here's how those basses sound together. Well, here, I'll play it. I'll play just the chorus with the basic track bass, and then I'll play it again adding the overdub bass. And you can hear how it adds snap and presence. So there's the chorus with just the basic track bass, and then here's with the overdubbed, snappier bass. So you can hear how that adds a lot of presence and kind of drives the rhythm along. Makes it a better, more forceful chorus. I think that's about all I can do to break it down. Here, I'll play the chorus once through with everything unmuted. Here's without the overdub bass. Here's with it. Okay, so that's the breakdown of the guitars. Just Brian starting to use lots of guitars and think of some interesting things to do with them. I think the 12 strings in particular, they're not too interesting here, but he learned sort of what they can do up in that high range, that sparkle, and he certainly built on that. And this riff isn't. That little riff isn't far off from the more interesting things he'd come to do with 12 strings in the coming years. So if there's anything else from this you want to hear in isolation, let me know in the comments below and I can do a little addendum. Otherwise, I'm just going to let the whole track play so you can hear just a complete playthrough of the isolated track. It's a little bit of a fantasy track because I didn't record the guitar solo because that sort of speaks for itself, and I added some of Carl's overdub fills where they aren't really on the original. But otherwise, it's pretty accurate recreation of the guitars and basses only track on Do You Want to Dance? And next, I think we'll be talking about Good to My Baby. If that's interesting enough, we'll see. Anyway, look out for that. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and see you around.